Hey, and welcome to the WREVA Electrifying News May edition, May 2021. I have with me, as normal, we have Mr. Eric Stevens joining us from Listowel. How are you today, sir?
Good, Mark. How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Glad you could join us. And we've got, of course, our other regular panelist, Ian Graham, joining us from downtown Kitchener. How are you today, sir?
Good, great to see you guys. I can tell both you guys, you got some good looking COVID hair. Mine's like all messy, but you guys seem to be standing up really good.
Oh, that's nice to know. Yeah, that's I didn't know I had that, but okay, I'll take it. I'll take any of that. uh, well, we've got a bunch of stories for the month of May, and Ian's got the controls, and let's start rolling.
All right. So I'll send this over to Eric. This is quite exciting. I'm really pumped to see more and more of this aspect of battery electric buses.
Yeah, so MCI, which is Motor Coach Industries, these are one of the big players in building large motor coaches like this, have announced a couple new EV options. It's interesting that Motor Coach is a subsidiary of New Flyer, which is based out of Canada, but Motor Coach themselves is based out of the US. But they've launched two new buses, the J4500 Charge and the D45 CRT Charge. And these are two new coach buses that have, I would call these short to medium range coach buses, probably good for short shuttle routes or day trips, things like that. But still exciting to see these types of options coming to market.
I could definitely see this happening like with the, Kitchener, Toronto corridor, London to Windsor, looking at the 230 plus miles. And one thing that came to my mind when I was seeing the under 4 hours to charge, which is awesome, but how many times when we did take buses, if I'm not sure if you guys took buses to different spots, but in most cases the buses were always idling, and you would smell those diesel fumes,
Yeah.
and while we were kind of waiting to go, yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly with the Greyhound type bus. That seemed to be a staple. They
Right.
always were idling away at stops or waiting for the time to tick away before they were to leave a certain site. And certainly, this would be a huge game changer for someone that was waiting in the bus depot or on it to have zero emissions. Why these things, just keep the charge running, and they just sit there and then pull away when they need to. But yeah, so this is kind of a medium haul bus, I guess. So, like as Ian mentioned, travel within Southern Ontario type thing would be quite comfortable for the battery range of this vehicle.
Yeah, I could see companies like Greyhound for certain routes, Metrolinx, or even Great Canadian for their day trips. Something like that could be useful for this as well too.
Hmm.
And the other plus is, of course, there's already for those companies, they would already have sites where those buses wait either overnight or for a number of hours before they move on to their next run. So having infrastructure at those sites would be a lot easier than trying to, pick up a charge at an Electrify Canada site or something. It would make a lot of sense that they could pull these charges from the current bus sites they already have in their portfolio.
Yep.
Hmm. I encourage people to go to the website and check out the how the bus looks on the inside and the technology. One thing, because I'm years of myself going to Mexico, buses are a huge aspect of Mexico, especially with travel between Puerto Vallarta to Guadalajara, etc. But their buses are absolute comfort. They got the TVs, they got the air conditioning. They're now, of course, they're doing Wi-Fi. But now with these battery electric buses, check out the website. It's really nice to see what they're doing on the inside with these as well. Like it looks to be really comfortable. And I think the fact also that you're not going to hear that diesel motor going. So, if you're doing that long overnight trip, that was one thing I remember, coming home from university, and if it's a later night, I was like, oh man, that motor is just keeping me awake all the time. You're not going to get that with these buses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. All right. Well, speaking of buses, our last podcast, we talked about Lion Electric. And of course, they build the school buses and different sort of, vehicles for cities and stuff. But they're now building a manufacturing plant in, I'm not sure how you say it, Joliet, Illinois?
I think it's Juliet.
Juliet? Yeah. I wasn't too
Yeah,
sure on that.
yeah.
And of course, this is also the same state where Rivian's being made. So this is exciting to see that the state is getting a lot of opportunities in this respect. But this is a 900,000 square foot facility, and they're planning to, over the next few years, to basically get up to 20,000 all electric buses and trucks, and a ton of jobs. And it's exciting to see. This it's a whole new aspect of the industry in terms of manufacturing that we're seeing, and it's great. It's really awesome to see.
Yeah, so this plant under construction at this time. What's the estimated completion time? Second half of 2021. So that'll be later this year, is what is proposed.
Yeah, which is amazing when you think about, we're dealing with COVID and the pandemic, and of course, I know the U.S. is opening up a lot more. You can see in their ball games, they've got people in the stands and that, so they are opening up that much quicker. But even still, to build a 900,000 square foot facility in these times and have everything in there and getting going on stuff, that's really impressive.
And of course, Lion Electric is they had their finger in the bus pie as well, right? They were doing some bus conversions, as well as mentioned here about medium and heavy duty vehicles.
Yeah. They make the commercial trucks, garbage trucks, school buses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was a Lion bus that the Waterloo Region EVA visited a few years back in the parking lot at Fairview Park Mall. They brought a school bus out, as well as they also showed up at one of our, yearly get-togethers. So yes. At the Cambridge Mall, they brought one of those buses out as well.
Yeah, we got to go for a little ride.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Yeah. And it was interesting to kind of see people. I think there was a few people as we traveled that recognized, hey, there's no sound coming from this bus. And, they recognized that, hey, there's something different about this. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Yeah. Remember as a kid with the bus in the summer and all the windows were down? And that bus was loud as heck as you were on it, sitting in traffic and the fumes coming up through the windows. It was not necessarily all that pleasant in the hot summer.
No. I when I went to high school, my bus trip was 45 minutes. Because I went from the country outside of London, and of course the bus went to Mount Bridges, and then from Mount Bridges over through Delaware, and then from Delaware over then to the high school. So it was 45 minutes of hearing that loud noise, breathing in those fumes. Any friends that you talked to on the bus, you had to yell, so you could say anything. And I think I spent the majority of my time with my Walkman on and listening to like all the music that's inspired me today. So no
wonder we went deaf, because we had to ratchet up the music in order to drown out the engine.
Yeah, because the headphones they had back then, they had like these little orange foam pieces, if you remember that.
Yeah
And they didn't really they kind of went in like as a comfort thing, but yeah, you still heard a lot of the outside noise. Oh man. All right. So, Mark, I'll let you take over on this slide.
Yeah, we've talked about this before about different provinces having mandates, different states having mandates for sales of electric vehicles. Well, Parliamentary Committee was tasked with studying how to incentivize sales of EVs in the future. And they came back to some of the models that are already existing in the United States and in a couple of Canadian provinces like Quebec and BC, where there is some sort of a requirement for a manufacturer to sell X amount of vehicles in a certain segment, such as EVs, compared to the number of regular gasoline vehicles they sell. And this committee was looking at how those systems work in places like, for example, California or Quebec or other places. And they were trying to weigh out what is the best way to both incentivize the population, the public, as well as incentivize manufacturers to do the right thing. So they're not looking to beat the manufacturer over the head with a stick to make them sell, X amount. But what they are trying to do is put in a number of measures that would make it fair that the manufacturer could get involved with this program. One of the things that they talk about, especially in this article, was that a lot of places, a lot of dealerships that people go to look at an EV or possibly have the option of test driving an EV, for example, they don't even have one in stock. There's a lot of places that just they don't order them. They don't have them sitting around because their argument is they don't sell. And of course, if you don't have a model to show, you're not going to sell it all that often, anyways. So they're kind of a self-professing policy that stops the sale of the cars. So these are some of the things that this committee is tasked with looking at, trying to figure out the best way to do it. And of course, there are a few models out there. If you look at the one in the US, where they're required to sell a certain percentage. And if they don't sell that certain percentage of EVs, then the manufacturer becomes fined. They get fined by how much they missed that target by. And the target, of course, changes over the years. It increases. So they have to have a higher mix as time goes along. So there's a number of different things that can be done here. I would like to see one that envelops all of Canada. We can talk about different provinces doing this, but I think with Canada being such a relatively small country population-wise, I think I would like to see a federal type mandate that would allow us to have a common basis across all the provinces. And then, of course, the manufacturer doesn't have to abide by different rules in different jurisdictions. They could just know that the federal standard is this, and it's spread across the provinces and territories in Canada. But again, it's an interesting article about the ZEV standard and what could be done. And we're hoping that this can lead to more sales in Canada as time goes along.
Mm-hmm. I think what I find interesting with this is that all three of us do know that there are certain dealerships that have jumped on board to the electric vehicle market and promoted it and kind of really researched and got into the whole thing, and they've done well with it. Mm-hmm. And the ones that haven't really done as much research into it or really made an effort to getting a vehicle on the lot, it's interesting, just in talking with people, and you ask them, is like, well, did you check out this vehicle? And like, yeah, we went to this lot, but they didn't really have any interest in it. They don't have anything, and it kind of really deflates for the consumer that experience, because they're excited to check this out, and then there's nothing there. Whereas, certain other dealerships that say, yeah, we have at least one vehicle for you to test drive, and before we can get orders in, you can try this out, and then it gets the consumer really excited, and I think it's great for the dealership as well. That word of mouth will really kick in as well.
Yeah, this is such a complicated topic, because it's one of those things where change. People are resistant to change, even if it's a change for the better. People are just naturally resistant to change. And same with dealerships. There are some dealerships out there that are embracing the change. They see the future's coming, and they're looking to go that way. And there's other dealerships that are saying that this is what I know works. This is what makes me money, and that's what I'm going to keep doing. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge, is you have to get them to break that mentality to say, hey, look, if you don't change your ways, then you might not be in business 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that needs to happen. On the other side too is, I mean, you have to be careful how things are mandated, because if you tell people or force people to say, hey, this is what you're going to be buying into the future, that breeds resistance. People don't like to be told what to do. So you have to sort of steer them and encourage them. You have to nudge them in the right direction.
Yeah, it's the carrot and the stick analogy, where you're offering a carrot and then you say, you know what, if manufacturers don't get on board with this, there's a bit of a stick behind it. You've got to have both parties moving at the same speed in order to get that forward momentum.
Yeah, and it's like the sort of the stubborn little kid analogy. If you tell them they can't do something, they're going to do it. So in some sense, you have to point them in the right direction without forcing it.
Mm-hmm. I really think that if we had some sort of a realistic mandate in place for both sides, I think that as it sits today, you've got a lot of people that are on the EV bandwagon already. I think it's getting easier and easier to push this forward, because there's more and more people that are out there that have now driven, a modern EV for, 9-10 years. And a lot of those people, the vast majority of those people, even as we've polled from the WREVA organization, they'll never go back to gas. The next car they're getting is another EV. We've seen this happen time and time again. So not only is it adding a used EV to the market, but another sale of an EV happens. So it seems to be a way that things are moving forward and looking like it's moving faster and faster.
Yeah, and absolutely, and especially as more EVs hit the market, and you get a wider variety of options hitting the market that actually hit the key points that people need. So one of the challenges, and if you look at the most popular vehicle segments today and the prices where they sell today, there's actually not many EVs in those segments today. And that needs to change, and that is changing. I think in the next 3 years, you're going to see a lot of EVs launched in some of the more popular vehicle segments. And that's really going to spur more potential sales.
Mm-hmm. Well, mind you, I think some of you you may have seen that there was a $6,000 EV recently launched, and it's more of like a city kind of, not a huge amount of speed, not a huge amount of room and everything, but still, like Eric, you're right. Like we do need to see kind of a price range hitting a certain area, and I think you're saying 3 years. I think 3 years or less. I think we're going to be seeing a huge change and opportunity for people who want to get into an EV, and that price range will finally be suitable for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you look at the most popular vehicle segments today, it's your compact sedans, which are usually in your mid $20,000 range. What I call your C segment CUVs, which are in the mid $30,000 range, and then pickup trucks. Mm-hmm. And we're certainly seeing a whole huge selection of EV pickup trucks coming to the market in the next couple of years. There are a huge number of now C segment CUVs starting to hit the market, and they're becoming much more affordable as well too. And while the compact sedan market is one that's been actually shrinking historically, so I don't know if we'll see too much into that segment in the future. Automakers seem to be avoiding it going forward, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right. Is going to electrify everything by 2040. So that's some interesting news, and it's not just cars.
Yes, yeah, I'm a little bit excited about this because I also ride motorcycles, and what I'm excited about this is Honda is going to be electrifying, of course, their vehicle lineup. They've licensed the Ultium technology from General Motors, and their first few EVs that they're going to be launching over the next few years, some of which are rumored to be even produced by General Motors. Then they're also going to be launching a whole bunch of motorcycles. One of them is they've actually formed a partnership with companies like Yamaha and Kawasaki, and they're working on a swappable battery format that would be a standard. And the idea is that you could pull up to a station and your motorcycle might have 4 of these battery cells. You just pull out and then pop back in again. So you could potentially just have batteries that you could actually just pull out by hand and swap. And that's the standard they're working with a few other Japanese motor manufacturers. Yamaha, if in the news, they've launched some new powertrain systems. I hope some of those make it into their motorcycles. And Kawasaki is also working on an electric motorcycle as well too. So I'm looking forward to that. And then Honda is also even talking about electrifying, of course, their ATVs, even things like lawnmowers and stuff like that going forward. So.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see that they're, working with GM with their Ultium batteries. I think that's awesome to see. Yeah. We got 2 major corporations that are coming together, and I'm not sure what necessarily trade secrets they're sharing, but it's nice to see that they're working together on this. And I'm sure whatever they're going to launch is going to be pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, that kind of thing helps spread out the development costs and bring scale to the industry faster. So we're seeing that in a few different levels. We're seeing companies like General Motors partnering with Honda. We're seeing companies like Ford now partnering with Volkswagen on a few areas as well too. So that type of consolidation in the industry just helps speed things to market and helps spread the cost around to bring more affordable options to the market faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the idea, Eric. You're talking here about those motorcycles having those swappable batteries. There is a couple of different scooters based in Asia and Europe that have a 2-cell or 2 brick battery pack that sit under the seat. And what they've done is they've teamed up with convenience stores and other places, other retail places that basically have a hot swappable battery bank out front the store where you've got like 12 or 24 different cubes that these batteries just slide in, lock, and start charging. And then what you do is you just swipe your credit card, and then you're able to pull 2 batteries out of that are already charged and plop them into your scooter, and away you go. So talk about a quick charge. It just takes a matter of minutes to replace yours with full ones and keep on the road. So, obviously they're not talking about the infrastructure here, but if you have a number of different manufacturers that are doing the same thing and have the same equipment, then it makes that type of scenario a lot easier.
Yeah. In the motorcycle world, when you look at companies like Honda, Kawasaki, and Yamaha, those 3 companies together make up a fairly large market share in that type of industry. You're talking probably close to a third of the motorcycle industry right there. So if they come up with a joint unified standard where all their batteries are interchangeable between all of their device, all their bikes, then that's a big deal. And that hopefully other manufacturers join in on that and adopt a similar model.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah. The scooters that you mentioned, Mark, like what's the range on some of those now? Like they're getting up to like easily 60 to 80 kilometers. Like I see electric bikes, and
those little scooters, they don't weigh much, and a couple of battery packs under the seat. And you're right, you're getting 60, 80 clicks out of those.
Yeah. There's a new company called Sonos that has a electric bike. It's capable of doing 130 kilometers an hour and has a range of about 120 kilometers.
Right. Is that the same company too that did the solar on the car, right?
No, I
Or
don't
is it,
think so.
I'm just thinking,
But
yeah, the name sounds really familiar, and that's why I'm asking. I just for some reason putting Sonos with that, but I could be wrong.
but the interesting part was also the price point that this bike was also 5,000 US dollars. So
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That's still up there.
it's still up there, but that's now in line with the more affordable gas motorcycles. So
Yeah, yeah. And 160 kilometers, you said, or 130
around
kilometers?
130 kilometers an hour is the top speed, and about 120 kilometers range.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great to see. All right. All right. So this just came up this week, and of course, before I get into this, tonight's going to be an interesting episode of Saturday Night Live because Elon Musk is hosting it, and there's always been, a little bit of, controversy as usual with Elon about some of this. But mind you, I had to laugh at the little pre thing that they've done where Elon says, "Hi, I'm Elon. I'm hosting Saturday Night Live with musical guest Miley Cyrus." She waves. And the girl beside Elon says, "So what did you do this weekend?" He's like, "Oh, I, launched another rocket into space and, put some satellites up there." And the girl's like, "I did laundry." So anyways, but yeah, I sent a message out basically stating that they've already sold out in 2 months, left in this quarter, their production capacity. And as Elon's in this quote here says, "We've seen a real shift in customer perception of electric vehicles, and our demand is the best we've ever seen." So, the one thing, like, this isn't just a Tesla success story. This is really, to me, is an electric vehicle success story because the big aspect of this quote is the customer perception. And, we just talked about, with dealerships and customers being able to go and try vehicles. And so now the dealerships are starting to like shift, that way with their own perception as well. Um, but I think in general, this is really great to see. All three of us have been involved with electric vehicles for a while now, and we've been watching this adoption. And I think more than ever now, the amount of electric vehicles that we see on the road it doesn't take us long in the city to go, a few blocks and, oh, there's another electric vehicle. And it's not just a Tesla. It could be a Leaf, it could be Hyundai's Ioniq, etc. Kia Soul. This is great. I just look at this as this is a real win for the whole industry.
Yeah, right now, I mean, across the industry in general, it's a supply issue. You're looking at all the manufacturers today, and they're building EVs like crazy. In fact, the biggest problem right now is getting enough parts, and it's not just batteries now. Now it's even the chips and stuff like that too, which is causing massive supply disruptions. But you take a look at Ford and the Mach-E is basically sold out for all of this year. Volkswagen out of their Zwickau facility is building 1,800 EVs a day out of their
Wow.
facility in Germany, and now they're expanding to another facility in. They've announced they're retooling another facility in Germany, and then of course they've got their plant in Chattanooga and another plant in China that they're also retooling right now for building EVs as well. So. But I was impressed. They're building 1,800 EVs a day, 5 different EVs coming out of their Zwickau facility in Germany. So
That's really impressive.
yeah,
I have a few friends who work at Toyota in Cambridge, and they tell me the numbers of what the cars that they put out within a day.
yeah,
So hearing 1,800 EVs in a day, that's really impressive.
yeah. It's a massive facility, and they are just pumping vehicles out right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting that Tesla's announcement that this is a company that put out 500,000 vehicles last year, and on the books it's suggested, and of course you get different amounts here, but somewhere between 700 and 1.1 million is slated for this year. So if they've already sold out in 6 weeks one of their quarters of the production they can make, that could be somewhere in the area of 250,000 on the high side to maybe 180,000 on the low side. Vehicles that have been sold in that 6 week period, and now they can't fulfill any more orders in that quarter, and they're going to spill over to the next quarter. So we saw this earlier with Tesla in Q1, where they had the best quarter they've ever had in the company's history. And typically Q1s are typically low volume quarters. And, we've seen this escalation that's been happening with them. So, man, it is looking good for the EV segment. There's a lot of people that are interested. And as I said in our previous segment, I think this snowball is just getting bigger and bigger and easier to roll down that hill. There's no turning back. At this point, I think we're already way over the hill or over the hump now, and gravity's starting to take hold, and the sales of these vehicles are going to be accelerating.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Now, as we talk about sales, we're going to get to that slide in a sec. Sorry. Gotta talk about this first.
That's a preview.
It's a preview, yes. Oh, yeah. Anyways, this is interesting. I didn't actually know about Project Arrow until Eric, you had mentioned this in an email to me. And this is kind of really cool.
It's an interesting project because it's not being led by really any one company. It's an organization that represents several OEM parts manufacturers in Canada. And basically what they've done is they've reached out to a few different groups to come up with a sort of a Canadian EV solution. They had a design competition amongst a bunch of Canadian universities. Carleton University actually won the design competition for this. So the actual concept design comes from Carleton University. And then now they're also they've started the engineering work to actually start developing and actually designing the vehicle, and the detailed design, making sure it meets the safety requirements, crash requirements, things like that, and the actual engineering details. And OUIT, which is the Ontario University Technical School in Oshawa, they're actually the lead school now on doing the engineering design for this. And they've actually pulled in, one of their big stories recently is now they've pulled in an engineer who's one of the chief engineers for Aston Martin to help lead this project. And so they're actually pulling in some good talent here. And they're working with some very large parts manufacturers, including companies like Linamar, who are used to fairly large scale manufacturing. And interestingly enough, their business model is almost the exact opposite of Tesla. Tesla's a very vertically integrated company, versus this is a whole bunch of parts manufacturers now who are coming together to build an EV out of a collection of parts, and they're getting different companies with different expertise to come together and say, I can do this, I can do this. And they're coming together to make an EV out of solutions that are here in Canada. And then part of their theme as well too is, Canada has a lot of the raw materials and everything necessary to build these EV components. So they want to make a truly sort of made in Canada solution. Now, the biggest challenge, of course, with any of these projects is always going to be, it's interesting to come up with a concept and design. It's another to get the capital and actually produce it. So I think that's where these projects are. That's where going to be the big linchpin for this type of project is. Okay, they have a design, they have concepts, they even have OEMs that can make parts for it. But getting it produced, they're probably gonna have to go with either a contract manufacturer like Magna to manufacture this for them, or they may even have to look at a design model similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with Arrival out of the UK, but they've developed a model for manufacturing on a local scale where you could build a car factory in something the size of a warehouse, where you build tens of thousands of units a year, but then you don't have one of these factories. Now you might have, in Canada, you might actually have 3 or 4 of these factories in different locations. So it'll be interesting to see where they go and how they get from concept and prototype to actual production.
Right, right. One thing I found interesting was with this engineer was his near-death experience with delivering an Aston Martin, and basically driving the car that went through a guardrail into the water and started to sink, etc., etc. I won't blow the story all out, but yeah, it was quite something.
And of course, with Aston Martin, he's connected with the Bond films apparently.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see that these guys are based in Windsor, I understand, at this point, or that's where Project Arrow is centered at this point. But as Eric mentioned, it's a split between a number of different manufacturers. It will be interesting to see if they can actually start this, beyond the concept. I would hope they could. The Carlton winning design, which we're showing here, looks appetizing. Looks like something that the market needs. Looks like something that the market needs today. So that would be a great start if they could get something like this to launch. I just hope, as mentioned, they have some funds behind them that they could get a few of these created and start a Canadian solution. I would love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say I agree with you, Mark. I really like the design of this. I think it's sleek, it's sexy looking. It looks like it's got some great space to it. And yeah, I actually really when I saw this picture of the concept, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And it's not so out there either that you go like, what the heck are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This looks like it'll hit right in the middle of the big market segment. So, and they're targeting this to be an affordable vehicle. So,
right.
That's actually what attracted this engineer from Aston Martin. If you look at his story, he said his reason for coming over to a project like this is, Aston Martin builds, aspirational vehicles for typically the wealthy people. And he says that's not something that's really going to change the world. And he's interested in building, here's an affordable vehicle that will work fantastic for a number of families. And he says this is, a vehicle like this has the potential to have an influence in the world. So that's what attracted him to this type of project.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I could see a family with a vehicle like this for sure. It's I think it's something the kids would go like, yeah, let's get in this. This is fun. I could see that. All right. Now I can talk about sales.
This story is about the really the EV marketplace in a used scenario. There are a number, not a great number. There are a few different EV marketplaces that deal in used vehicles. There are some in Ontario. There's a couple spread around the country. A very small amount at this point. But this article was talking about a particular one, the Electric Vehicle Network, and their, I guess, their ability to court some investment from investors to invest in the possibility of expanding this into a national service as opposed to a city service. So Electric Vehicle Network, for example, they have 2 locations currently, one in Toronto, one in Newfoundland, and they are basically selling their vehicles over the internet. So they have a website, an interactive website you can go to. You can see the vehicles they have in stock. You see the prices clearly posted, the options that are available on these vehicles. There's actually someone that you can speak to right over the internet website if you wanted to get into questions about anything. But they are EV centric, so they're concentrating their sales just on EV cars, and they're able to explain to a potential new buyer all the pluses and minuses based on that particular customer and what they do in their daily life. So they're able to come up with the proper car for the proper person for the proper use. And this little article, and of course, we're leaving all the links for these articles in the notes below, so you can click on these articles after the show. But they're indicating that there is an appetite for this, and as we mentioned, with the new car sales segment starting to grow in EVs, we're also seeing that second and third generation EVs are now being offloaded to the used market and finding new owners at a lower price point. So this is one of the stories of somebody that's taken that used market, and they're using technology such as a website and the ability to get that information out in front of the clients easier, with a lower barrier point for people to get involved with it, and tailoring to the EV customer with their information and their education. So this is a plus. This is again us seeing the progression of the EV market down a rung from the new vehicle now to the used vehicles.
Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of people, like especially with this 40% sales increase, I think a lot of these consumers are the people who are kind of like, I don't want to say on the fence, but they're just kind of waiting, and it's like, I want to get into this, but if I'm going to get into it, I also want it to be at a price point that's a little more affordable and lets me kind of experiment, with this a little bit. And here's an opportunity, we're not paying the full pop for a new vehicle. And at the same time, we're getting the experience of what electric vehicle is without, breaking the bank. And I think for a lot of new EV owners who are like testing the waters, I think this is a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, this is one of those situations too where, if you look at the vast majority, a lot of people cannot afford a new vehicle. And obviously, as more and more EVs hit the market, eventually those trickle down. And once they come off lease or hit the used market, typically in the 3 to 5 year old range, that's typically how long people own a lot of cars. And as people turn over to the next generation of EVs, their EVs are going to trickle into the used market. So we're seeing that carry on effect now, where 3 to 5 year old EVs that now been on the market for a while are in the used market. And now people that otherwise wouldn't be able to purchase an EV now have options available to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this article also talks a little bit about the company Shift, based in Burlington, Ontario, that started selling used Teslas, and was so successful with that as they started to get involved with other EVs as well. And they're now selling a lot more EVs than they had even thought they could. So they've actually become a huge secondary market for EVs based in Burlington. So that was good to see as well.
Yeah, and I would say the recent rises in gas prices and the current supply disruptions in a lot of the automotive industry today are probably helping that as well too. So
yeah. And I would certainly want to mention too, for those of us in WREVA, we've got a great resource available to us just near Toronto, which of course is Plug and Drive, which is an organization that has a whole floor full of vehicles, electric vehicles that are sold in the Ontario market, where you can go and speak to somebody knowledgeable about those cars and their abilities, and their price ranges, and take a test drive. And it's all a free resource available.
Yeah, and they also salespeople.
Yeah, and they have salespeople that aren't selling anything. All they're doing is providing you with knowledge.
Yes.
And the other bonus is they've got a used EV credit that if you take a little course that just takes an hour or so to learn about EVs, you can get a $1,000 coupon that you would receive after the purchase of a used EV. And that is a program that is available nowhere else in Canada, as far as I know.
No, it's a great little program, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And when we had the auto show, be a year ago, February, but Plug and Drive was doing the test drives, and we had lots of different electric vehicles to try. And it was great to see the response and people coming out to try the cars and really interested in all of this. So yeah, it's great to see. And Shift, I've been watching Shift, and yeah, they sold Teslas, and now they are getting into other EVs, and they are very successful. A great little company that is doing quite well with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this literally just came out today, and the Evoy 1 motorboat. It's a Norwegian company, and they're using the same charging system as our electric cars, and they're getting fully charged in 30 minutes. And there's a video, and as Mark said, we'll post links for you guys to check out. And it's only about a 1 minute or so long video on the CBC website. And the boat is it's like a little tourist boat is the best way I can describe it that they've got going here. And it's really cool. They show, here's a charger where, the boat's charging up, but like right next to it kind of is also the charger where a car can charge up as well. And, I find it interesting, like they're saying it can generate up to 800 horsepower. So these boats, they go. In the video, they're driving the boat, and yeah, these things go quite well.
Yeah, 55 knots according to the ad here, or the article.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, they're looking to expand outside of Norway, of course, and they feel that they want to see more, not just like electric boats, but actually marinas having the option to do electric boat charging, and integrating that as so now we're not just dealing with car chargers anymore. We're getting into the boat aspect. It's interesting because we just talked also at the beginning of this podcast about the buses, and so now we got a charging thing there that we got to look at doing. And of course then there is the trucks, the semis, and there's an infrastructure there. So all this is integrating together, and it's just going to basically just keep expanding that way.
Yeah, and I love seeing, Norway, I would say, is a company that, or a country that is running, several years ahead of everybody else in the electrification world. Mm-hmm. And they're showing us what's possible, even at their scale and in their climate. And if it's possible there in Norway, we can do it here, and we can do it in the U.S. So it's looking good. The future looks good.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And, Norway is not necessarily a huge country, but everything's on scale. And if Norway can do it, I'm sure, Canada, US, all of us can kind of like jump on board and follow suit with a lot of this as well.
Yeah, this boat kind of reminds me of what I've seen in other large metropolitan cities around North America, where they have, river or bay tours that they go up and down in front of a city, talk about the architecture, talk about, a story about the city and things of that nature. It's like a great little tourist ride that you get to be shuttled around on a boat on the waterways around a city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So this is our podcast slides for today, and I thought it would be a good time to, we can lead into this. We've been talking on the podcast about this project that I've been working on. Funny enough, I keep on my Cybertruck Canada website posting some pics and saying, what am I working on? And meanwhile, I've been sort of saying what it is on this podcast the whole time. So see who's paying attention. But anyways, this has been an exciting week. I can show a few more of the pics. So 2-3 weekends ago, the gas motor was sold, and some good old boys down by Chatham, Sarnia way. Eric, you know where I'm talking about. And anyways, the electric motor came in on Tuesday from a company called Elco. One thing, I'm not sure. Let's see if I can. I'll just zoom in here. Electric since 1893. This company's been around a long time, and I just think that's cool that they put that on the side of their motor, because it's like, you know, when people sort of think electric cars and that, like, you know, a lot of times like, oh, well, they've only been around for, you know, maybe 10 years or so. And meanwhile, you know, we know that they've been around a long time. But the boat side of things, to know that 1893 even, like, they were doing this, is pretty interesting.
Mhm.
Anyways, just quick little rundown. The white boxes that you see on the top left here are the boxes that are holding the Tesla batteries. So there's 2 batteries in each of the boxes. So I got 4 Tesla batteries there, and my buddy custom built them, and they've got a coating on them that's resistant, like it's, you know, quite a hard shell, and also water resistant. But in trying to figure out where we're going to put these batteries, down here is where the seating is, and it actually creates like an L. So we thought, oh, we'll put one box here, and then we'll put another box over to the other side. And anyways, then we started looking, and it was like, what if we unbolt this seat area? And we did, and it totally slid out. And now we realize, this isn't the best maybe picture for showing this, but we can put both batteries side by side, maybe even in a, like, probably in another container, and then put a seat on top of that, and you know, we're good to go. And so my friend Mark, who's been helping me with this, and his brother Mike as well, he's working away on measurements for the solar canopy. And one thing we're doing with the solar canopy is we're trying to make it so that it tilts. Not for the solar aspect, but just so that when we travel with the boat, that the canopy will actually go down level with the, I guess you could say, the captain's chair. And then you can cover it up with the cover and travel with it. So it's been a fun project, and it's getting more exciting because all the more and more of these parts are coming in. We got the motor now, so yeah, it's coming along. So when we get out in the water, it'll be exciting to see, and we'll get a video for you guys to see it.
Now,
Awesome.
what's the expected time, Ian, that you think that all the parts, the controllers, the batteries, the motors are going to be all put together and be able to test it out for the first time? What are you expecting?
You know what? My crossing fingers is hoping for like June. I would say we got a good 85% of the parts. The one part we haven't got yet is the BMS system. And, you know, we've been talking with a company, volts.ca, about their BMS system, and, you know, just trying to get some of that stuff figured out. That's an area that basically, you know, it basically manages how the battery is charged. If you know, if anyone who understands lithium batteries, it basically looks like a bunch of AA cells in the case of the Tesla battery, and you can't just sort of put a charger on it. The BMS actually dictates how each cell is charged, so that it's properly balanced and everything else. So, but yeah, you know, back to your point about when we think this is going to be out, I'm crossing fingers that by June, I'm hoping, you know, bar no other problems kind of come about. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And just for the people watching, your plan, this is a pontoon boat. It's going to be able to be charged separately as well as through solar panels. And
As of right now, just solar panels. Although I am
okay,
looking at a charger as well. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So and of course you're manufacturing this from a regular pontoon boat, right? You've taken the old pontoon boat apart and have added the electrical components to it.
Yeah. That's what we're slowly putting together. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, and that's been interesting as well.
I bet.
Yeah. Now, one thing I can mention as well, in fact, and you know what, Eric, I'll send you the link. It was an article that came out last summer. The guy that I bought the Tesla batteries from, just a quick story on him. He was just north of Stratford. He runs a solar company up there. My buddy came across an ad on Kijiji that he had 16 Tesla batteries. So anyways, his 13-year-old son took a salvaged Tesla and took it totally apart and sold the parts.
Wow.
Yeah. And his son's 14 now. And they got another Tesla Model S that they're taking apart currently. But the other interesting thing, and this is where the article, I'll send it to you, Eric, I think, the audience would really get a kick out of this, is he helped a guy convert I think it was a 36-foot catamaran to 16 Tesla battery modules with a huge solar canopy. It just on the batteries, it runs 16 hours. With the solar, it's infinite. And
Wow.
I'll send you a link. It's awesome. And he's up in Bayfield.
Yeah.
And they're now upgrading his BMS system to basically accompany EV Verks, I think it's called, like VERKS. They basically have a system that basically mimics what you would see in a Model S in terms of the screen and everything else. So he's now upgrading to this. It's an amazing boat, and I think it was an article that was done on it, and it's really impressive.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, I think that concludes our stories for this evening. And certainly we wanted to thank you for joining us this evening or this morning or this afternoon or whenever you're watching this, because, of course, you can watch it on demand. But we would like to thank you for that. And if you could, please give us a thumbs up on the video. And if you would like to see content as soon as it's made, just press that subscribe button and ring the bell. And you'll be notified anytime a new video is uploaded to the WREVA YouTube site. So we thank you very much for watching. Eric, any shout-outs on our way out?
No shout-outs right now.
You've got a project that's going too, right?
It will be going hopefully in June when I get some time, but yeah.
Well, maybe we'll get an update on that next time. But
yeah.
That's great. Ian, any shout-outs from you?
I was just going to mention I've been like ignoring the phone all night. I haven't looked, and I finally looked, and it's 1-1 Montreal Leafs. So the battle goes on.
The Battle of Ontario, Quebec. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I guess the only shout-outs again would be back to Elko, for getting the motor shipped from the States during this, COVID and everything else, and they've been awesome, and getting that, promptly up here, and also to Volts in Quebec. They're an interesting company that does renewable energy and also works with Tesla batteries and BMSs, and they're doing some amazing stuff as well. So it's very cool to see.
Very good. Very good.
Actually, I do have one shout out. If by some chance somebody from Honda does listen to this podcast, they got to make an electric Goldwing, and I will buy one.
There you go, Honda. You've already got one in the bank. All you have to do is make one. There you go.
Those are floating couches, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Man.
Well, good evening to everyone out there. Hope you're safe and happy as you can be. And we will see you next month on another edition of the WREVA Electrifying News. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Good night.